Hello and welcome to Entrepreneurship with Peter Christo. Today I have the honour of interviewing Michelle O'Neill. Michelle O'Neill is the founder of Cherry Tree Equine, a multifaceted business that specialises in helping people with their horses, trading horses, and even online learning. Michelle is a delightful human being, a quintessential Aussie, and someone who clearly loves what she does. Please enjoy my interview with Michelle O'Neill. The previous podcast that I just published today with a friend, Huck, was to do with women in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So there are some conversations that I think some of the listeners find interesting. So you sound like you're just a consummate lover of horses, and you've just, got involved in a whole bunch of things. So maybe just introduce yourself. Absolutely welcome to the podcast. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I know it's very, very unstructured, but I'm very, very interested to understand the kind of your type of spinning up a business around horses, and the equine industry, and as a woman, as a we're living in the rural part of the ACT there. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about what you do.
Okay. So my name is Michelle O'Neill, and I own a little business called Cherry Tree Equine. And essentially how we describe Cherry Tree Equine, it's about helping horses with their people problems. So it's about creating relationships. It's about people overcoming issues that they're having. And obviously, that has effects for not only, what it means for the horse, but also for the humans and their own mental health and their mental well-being. So, like a lot of country girls, I suppose, I grew up with horse poo on the brain, and unfortunately, unlike a lot of country girls, it never seemed to wash away. So I've kind of stuck with it. So it's one of those things people used to ask, if I'd teach and stuff, and out of that I actually developed a business. And so, like everybody, started out, giving lessons, and, that's where a lot of backyarders start. They start out giving lessons and then, develop that into a clinic kind of system where I teach over, a couple of days and travel around the country and do that. And now we've morphed it again, whereby I'm still doing my clinics, but I'm actually doing a lot of online training as well, because, the world's changing and people can't commit to a couple of days quite often, because of course a lot of my clientele is women.
Yeah, sure. I look, I'm a little bit in touch with the industry. Not that I've done a little bit of horse riding myself, but my daughter was enamored with horses when she was about 12, right around the time while I was going through a divorce. So me, carrying all the guilt in the world, took it, drove the 1 hour out to the place, the riding school, got her on the horses, paid my $50 an hour, I think it was at the time, and which hurt, right? Which hurt. Her godparents bought her the jodhpurs, the boots, the helmet, she got all the stuff, right? And then guess what happened?
She lost interest.
That's right.
What generally happens at that moment, Peter, is, like you say, 12-year-old, and then the next thing they discover is boys. So when they discover boys, the horses fall by the wayside.
Poor horsey.
Yeah, and so what happens is it sort of goes one of a few ways. Either, they forget about horse and they do other things, and then they come back later on, or else they keep toddling along, and then women go on and they have kids and families. Right. And then they have to step back from the horses, and then they come back. So it's this whole cycle where it's like a big washing machine, and people step out and step in and step out and step in. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was recently in Vanuatu, and I had the pleasure of doing a trail ride through the rainforests in Vanuatu. It was beautiful. But I do feel sorry for some of those horses. They kind of learn the way to go, and you've got this illusion of riding a horse that somehow you're in control of. And so I have, nowhere near your skill level, I'm sure, but I can make a horse turn. I can make a horse go generally in the direction I want it to go. But geez, it was some work to make it realize that, hey, mate, you and me.
I want to go this way, and you need to do that. Those horses, they know the track.
the lady behind me was having real troubles, and I said, "Look, the first thing is that, you got to make sure you're smarter than the horse." And and so during it, every time, she had no control of the animal at all. And I just look at her and I said, "Remember rule number 1, you got to be smarter than the horse." I genuinely think that horse was smarter than her.
Oh, and horses are very, very good at training humans.
Yeah.
I recently bought a horse, and he's had some injuries, and because he's had the injuries, he's learned to push people around. And anyway, he's got a tricks down pat. He knows exactly what to do.
Yeah. So Michelle, why don't we? Because what I want to do is sort of create a nexus. Obviously, clearly, you're a passionate, person, when it comes to horses, and you've got a real love for it, and you kind of got dragged, obviously not unwillingly, dragged into creating work for yourself, being able to, I guess, support yourself by doing what you love. And I guess we talk about find what you love and do it as you work, and it won't feel like work. I'm sure that's not always the case, but that's kind of the idea. But I'm interested. Sometimes people think, "Oh, I'm going to start a business. What is it going to be?" You knew what it was going to be, but to turn what you did into a business, what was the journey like for you? Were you naturally did you have natural commercial acumen? Did you have to read a book? Did you get guidance or mentorship? And did being a female adult woman, however you want to call it, Stace, step on a landmine here. How did that play out for you? Did you find that it helped you or it hindered you? Like what?
Yeah, the funny thing about my whole journey is that like I said, I've always been horse mad, and I grew up like in rural New South Wales, and so we had horses on the farm. My dad was a backyard racehorse trainer, and I went to pony club and run. Anyway, I was always the one. Oh, I wanted to work in the horse industry, and my parents wouldn't let me. They actually they said, "No, you will not go and basically shovel poo for somebody forever," because that's that's what a lot of people end up doing. So I actually ended up working in corporate agriculture for quite a few years. And so worked around New South Wales in different places. I went to university. I've got a Bachelor of Business degree in ag. Yeah.
Ag.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's a Bachelor of Business Ag Commerce. So like everything was sort of ag, and yet the calling was probably always there. So what then happened was I ended up coming back to the Monero, which is home. I'd been away for 10 years, and I came back and I was working again in ag, and then stuff just started happening on the side. And look, at home I'm known. It's a small country town or area. I'm known, so that was sort of easy. And then out of that, I managed to put myself into a job that I was only paid an hourly rate. So what I was able to do over 2 years, as my business started, I could actually scale back my hours working for these wonderful people. But I mean, honestly, the business degree, if I'm really honest about that, the greatest thing that taught me was how to walk the corridors. And I did a unit called Applied Finance, and I'm not at all mathematical. And our lecturer, he the first assignment, he actually set it so that the only way you could pass was actually to come and seat him in his office and ask questions. And that's what he said. He said, the greatest lesson you'll learn from here is to walk corridors. And that, out of that, I think that sort of inspired a bit of an inquisitive nature to ask a lot of questions. And I've been really lucky to be able to become friends with some amazing, not just horse trainers, but business people. So an actual classic example is Ian Francis, and anyone who's been in the Western industry will know Ian's name. What a lot of people don't know about Ian is that he's a fantastic horse trainer and won just about everything in this country. But Ian actually he became a millionaire. He actually made, and he jokes, he says, "I made $1 million out of training horses and I'll lose it all." He's now retired from training horses. He says, "I'll lose it all on cattle." And that's it. Like he bought you know, he bought a lot of country up around Queensland, and he's done really well. And Ian is now 78 years of age. And, you know, I remember I did a DVD. I used to write for Horsewise magazine, and out of that we did a DVD, and it's called Please Can I Have a Pony? And that DVD is still in existence. It's about helping people, you know, buying and looking after their first horse. And we were down at Delegate, and I was picking Ian up. He'd been doing a camp drafting clinic, and somebody at the clinic asked me how the DVD was going, because we were just about to release it at Equitana the following week. And I hung my head and, you know, mumbled and said, oh, you know, it's okay. And it takes about, I'd reckon, just under an hour to drive from Delegate to Cooma.
Mm-hmm.
And I copped an hour in the car from Ian of how I was to never hang my head and talk myself down again. And you can't buy that kind of help and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so yeah, a lot of really fantastic people like that. And I think too, you know, the fact that I'm interested in business, you know, like I don't, you know, if you listen to my podcast, it's not really many horse training podcasts. It's a lot of business podcasts. So I think that's been a big help too.
Yeah. So that's what I'm coming to understand. So you've come in it from a position of passion, had enough for whatever reason, you know, got into the business degree, which again teaches you, you know, the academic side of things. I don't think I remember a thing about the graduate degree, which was in business as well. But certainly I learned, you know, I learned some skills around getting stuff done and getting around particular lecturers I had difficulty with, and the context that are made there. But I guess to the other thing you mentioned about, it was Ian, right? So having a good mentor, but also something in you as a human being was motivated enough to take action rather than go and get a job. So I think there's something in that is, you know, a belief in yourself that I can do this, and it may not have even occurred to you that you couldn't. So you certainly, you know, you probably knew what a balance sheet was and had a concept of what a profit and loss was, and that, you know, money comes in and money goes out, and you've got to get that balance right. But it sounds like you've got a very can-do attitude, and you know so Ian's guidance, did that continued over the years? I guess you've maintained a relationship with him.
Yeah,
that's funny. I've got a mentor called Ian. So coincidence there. I think it's definitely invaluable, and it also talks to humility, to hear somebody else's view, even though you've got to then synthesize it into something that's relevant for you. What other support? So was your partner, did you sort of entered into a relationship during that, and then I guess also had to convince him that this is what you do? And
poor Warren, he's just given up. he just goes, you do. So yeah, no, he is very supportive. All jokes aside, and I mean, anybody who's listening who has had anything to do with a horse person will understand that we're a pretty single-minded bunch, and we're pretty. Well, we can get very focused on what we want to achieve, and of course the other thing is for me too, which I sort of haven't talked about, is that I'm fairly competitive, and I actually compete even now. I'm still competing. So, you know, that had all come with me. You know, I was already competing. I was already going to national finals. You know, I was doing all that. I was traveling all over the place. So that sort of, that competitive nature kind of, you know, I suppose drives me a little bit. But the other thing is, I mean, competition, anyone who competes in any sporting event, you know, or any event really, you know, every day is a new day. And I'll give you a classic example. I went down to Gundagai Rodeo last Saturday and competed, and my good horse, who has been amazing in his career, he just didn't turn up. I have no idea what happened. Now, you want to talk about being humbled. You know, you're running with the top girls in the country and your horse doesn't run. And you know, that I think that probably helps to keep your feet on the ground and keeps you a bit humble. And so yeah, Warren sort of had already known that all of that was in me, and he's been very supportive, all jokes aside. You know, he does we run two separate businesses. We do run two separate businesses. So, but he does support me, and I've got 3,500 acres out here to play on because he bought the farm, and the farm that we live on is his passion.
Right.
So he follows that, and so I get to tag along for the ride. So that's been amazing. But yeah,
it's symbiotic relationship
Yeah.
to me. So tell me a little bit about. So it sounds like part of your business is kind of like an online educational thing. So let's break that up a little bit. So what are the component parts? The average business, you make a widget, you make it for $1, you sell it for $2. Woohoo! Off to the races you go.
Mhm.
What does that look like in the? You sound like you've got a number of different business units. Do you want to take us through that?
Yep. So, sort of the core part of the business is still the clinics. Is still the horsemanship clinics where I travel, across the country, and you have a group of 10 people for a couple of days, and you work with them, and
They have
that's
their own. They bring the BYO horse.
Yeah, all BYO horses. So then, of course, out of that, we also have part of the business where I actually, because I breed my own competition horses, they obviously don't all make it. I'm not interested in second-rate horses for me. So because of my horsemanship background, my competition horses that don't make it are very, very saleable, and people just love them because they are quiet and they can do anything and stuff. So we've sort of got that part of the business as well. Then I do take in the odd outside horse and sell that for other people. That
So
actually,
you can make a margin on that. You make a margin on the horse.
Yeah,
Buy
definitely.
for $1, sell for 100.
Yep. I'll give you a classic example. The other day, I had a horse sent to me from Armidale. It was here for 5 weeks. The owner got $6,000 and I got $3,500. So I can make reasonable money out of that. But the thing is with that part of the business is I actually don't like it because there's a lot of very negative connotations around horse dealers. And horse dealers are a bit like used car dealers. People don't like them. So we try to...
My brother's a used car dealer. You're right.
Yeah.
It's actually a really nice guy in case you see this.
My farrier reminds me all the time that I'm verging on being a used car dealer. He's like, you're pushing it. So we don't do a lot of that. But what we tend to do is that just tends to be a boutique little thing that we can do when the horses turn up, or we have clients. Generally, it's clients who need to sell horses, and we help clients out. And then, of course, the growing part of the business is the Cherry Tree Virtual. So, and this is where you want to talk about how how you can probably take a bit of an economic risk in a business. That has cost a lot of money to create. So to give you an idea, when we film, and so it's all pre-filmed, when we film, I have 2 cameras on site. It's professionally done. 2 cameras on site. They charge me $100 an hour per camera. And then they take all the video footage home and they edit it. And that costs me about $80 an hour. Now, we have created, I am not exactly sure of how many hours of footage so far, but there's hundreds of hours. And we created all that without having sold a single subscription.
Right. So the model is a monthly type subscription.
There's monthly a year.
You're making a video, and then they watch that video, and then you jump on and Q&A, and do you do that, or
a little bit? We're sort of building that a bit. So what we've got at the moment is if you get on my website, it's actually run by Kajabi, so the software is Kajabi. So those who are subscribers actually then go into a behind the scenes section of the website, and they can view footage. Then what we do is, at this stage, I'm just using a Facebook group, private group, to actually communicate to those people. Like a lot of small business people and like a lot of females with a family. I know the website can do more. It's just I have to find the time to put it all together. But so we actually do communicate with those people. They can jump on, they can ask questions. Quite often they do. They can then also request every so often when I'm filming. I'll put out member requests and I'll say, okay, guys, what do you want to see? And we film someone may be having trouble with something with their horse. So I'll go and film that for them and show them how to work through it. So there's a lot of the footage that's there is is general horsemanship. It's not industry specific, it's not event specific, it's just for people. And then we try and basically what we've filmed is so far is everything that I know people have trouble with on a daily basis. So just trying to build that library. So that library will sit there forever then.
Okay, so basically it's a library of videos that'll take you through basically an online learning course, and you're looking at doing a bit of an interaction via, I guess, text or would you do it via video? Have 100 people on the screen and answer
Definitely.
questions? Yeah, okay. So
Yep.
kind of like an ask me anything sort of thing, but still within the ecosystem of the learning environment.
Yep. That's it. And I think that's one of the really cool things, Peter, at this stage is because it's still small, it's still growing. You can be a little bit flexible. Like I could go, I can change the format a little bit, and I think that's what you have to do when you're doing something like this, is you have to be willing to change it to meet what people are actually expecting. So,
and where are people finding it? Is it just through the Facebook group, or and are they coming from anywhere in the world?
Yeah. So at this stage, we're only really getting people from Australia. Obviously, it can be international, and we have looked at that. Where a lot of the people who are subscribing at this stage are basically people who have come to a clinic. And so, say for example, in May last year, I went to Western Australia for the first time. Obviously, I can't get to Western Australia every month. So, this is the thing. If they want to follow up, then they can get on and access that channel and so keep going and then ask questions and do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, a lot of it is follow up from having first met me and worked with me, and they go, we really like this, we want more of this, and then they grow from there.
This podcast is brought to you by Christo Partners, strategic advisors to assist you in commercialising your innovations. If you have an opportunity you seek to bring to market and need help with either going to market, connecting with universities to access technology, or raising capital, or any other matter, contact us on hello@christopartners.com. So do you think about, I mean, in a way you've kind of answered this already, but I just wonder, normally a business wants to be able to scale, and you're kind of a key person in this organization. So, kind of like the surgeon, they do the cutting, but they've got a bunch of people around them. Do you think about it like that, or do you think about, well, you'll produce this stuff online, you could probably commercialize your clinics and have other people run them, even the horse trading side of the business might have an opportunity to get somebody, if it becomes busy enough. So you hire someone, you go, your job, mate, is to make more money out of what they cost us than what it costs us to buy them and hold them and then sell them. Because I presume you hold them for 8 weeks, that's going to cost you something. And feed them, you got to do that sort of stuff.
Definitely. And that is quite doable. Like there is other people, there's other people who have done that and been quite successful with it, and they've actually charged, some of the really top guys in the States that have actually charged other people to come and learn with them. So you can definitely do all of that. I mean, scaling is hard because everybody trains horses and people a little differently, and even I do clinics with a really good friend of mine, and we both teach together, and it's really interesting because she looks at the horse and I look at the person. Right. So when we teach our teaching style, even though we actually are teaching the exact same thing, we see things differently. So that perspective makes it a bit tough. So I think as far as scaling goes, I think my biggest potential is being able to scale it across the world as far as the videos, but then being able to actually have people who followed it, and they can help each other within a community kind of setup. And this is the thing, when you're talking about horse training, you're talking about what is essentially a recreational activity to most people. So they like that feeling of community, and they like that feeling of engagement with people who are like-minded. So I think that's a big thing in the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like definitely you've got some upside, but it still would fall into, I guess this is the nexus, right? So some people say, okay, this is a lifestyle business. She's doing it because she loves it, and power to her, off you go. But you probably do have some opportunities to spin out something that sort of moves it out of the lifestyle business type thing. So, okay, we're gonna create something, and that could be sellable one day. Somebody can take a position in it and then cross-sell and upsell and sell, saddles and whatever, works for them. When you want to lie down and, sit on the porch a little bit, not, I presume you've come off a horse. You might not want to come off that, another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't fun. So yeah, look, Michelle, I think that's fantastic. So how do people find? Well, actually, I've got one more question before we wind up. I've got to ask you, where did you come up with the name for the what is it, Cherry Tree Equine?
Yeah, actually, and Peter, I must say, this is possibly one of the most asked questions I get as far as the business goes. And now that you've said that, I must actually do something on that on social media. But it's really so my parents had a farm, and there was a paddock on the farm called the Cherry Tree Paddock. And for various reasons, like a 1,700 acre farm, and for various reasons, there always seemed to be horses in the paddock. And so we called the business Cherry Tree Equine. And one of the reasons, if I'm really honest, one of the reasons why we did it is because I wasn't actually that keen to actually put my name on it to start with.
Yeah.
And so if anyone who has watched my promotional material over time, for a long time, you wouldn't really even see my name on stuff. Whereas now I've actually had to go, oh, you know what, I am actually the business. So yeah, if I'm really honest, it's got the cute story of, yep, we had a paddock, and the irony of it is the paddock actually didn't have any cherry trees in it by the time I came along. But it was the Cherry Tree Paddock, and horses were always in it, so it became Cherry Tree Equine. But if the actual reason is that, like a lot of people starting out in business and in an industry where, like horses, where a lot of people have fairly strong opinions, I was a little hesitant to put my name on it to start with. So yeah, it's a bit of a two-sided story.
Yeah, I guess it's actually an interesting topic in itself, where we have certain people have their personal character is maybe more outgoing and more happy to put themselves out there. Hey, this is me. I'm doing this thing. It's amazing. Come on, come all. Whereas other people are more circumspect. They're more humble, for want of a better word, and they're passionate about something, but they're also not eager to. I mean, do you think there might be something to do with the tall poppy thing that people keep talking about?
Oh, definitely, and I think too, again, small country town, small country area, like regional New South Wales. No one likes to really stand out. And the other thing is, for me, which a lot of people don't actually believe when they first hear it, is that I'm actually not a natural horse person. So even as a child, I have a younger brother. Even as a child, my brother was actually the better rider. He just wasn't interested. Right. And so, at Pony Club, and I laugh about this all the time and say, when I went to Pony Club, I started Pony Club when I was probably 12, and I left when I was in my early 20s. If you'd asked all my friends, and I'm still friends with quite a few of them, if you'd asked my friends at Pony Club if they thought that I could go on and make a living out of the horse industry, they would have said no, because I'm not naturally gifted. I don't have a great heap of natural ability. I just have a real tenacity and determination and want to learn. And so that, I think that's a lot to do with it. I think the fact that, I sort of was like, well, hang on, I can't tell anybody how to do this stuff. And I often tell the story about the first clinic I ever gave was a volunteer effort. I did it for nothing. It was for a local club. And, the things you learn as you go along. A friend and I, actually the host whose place the clinic was at, we actually drank a couple of bottles of champagne the night before the first clinic. And so I walked in the day of the clinic, and it was a wet day like, today. And I walked in to do this clinic, and I just wish the ground would swallow me up. I thought I was going to die. I was partially hungover and partially just was terrified that I had to teach all these people. Anyway, so then I got through the clinic, did it, got through it. Anyway, there was a lady at the clinic, and probably 6-12 months later, she came to another clinic that I did. And I was obviously not hungover, and I'd gotten a little more confident about what I was doing, and actually was starting to feel that maybe I could actually do this. And at the end of this second clinic, the lady walked up to me and she said, "Oh, you've improved so much since your first clinic." And
I'm not.
Yeah, oh, but even now I'll walk in to do a clinic and I'll do the introduction and talk to people, and quite often at clinics there'll be people you don't know. And this is the thing, I have no background. When I turn up to teach for a weekend, I don't know the people, I don't know their horses, I don't know what their problems are. I'm not I'll find all that out when I get there, and that's part of the job. But I will talk to those people for the first 15 minutes at the clinic and look at the ground, because you still have that imposter syndrome. I still sort of, you battle with that. Oh, am I good enough to do this? So I think that's a big thing that, like we talk about people starting out and stuff. That's a big thing, but it's not just when you're starting out. Like, I've been doing this business for 13 years. And
did you think Ian never felt that? Is it? I hesitate to talk about the man-woman thing, but I'm compelled to do it because people ask it. They ask it. My sense of it is you're you, and it's got nothing to do with your sex. It's got nothing. It's just you're uniquely you, and you're doing your thing, and everyone can go piss off.
Yep.
So that, but why is that? Just your natural character that you would be, shy,
No.
if that's what.
No.
You're not shy. So what is it?
Well, yes and no. Like, I was very shy as a kid. I think for someone like Ian and my other friend Adele, who I teach with, the thing for both of them is they had lots of runs on the board as competitors. But what's very interesting, if I can talk about those two, is that very successful horse trainers, very successful competitors, not natural educators. So I know Ian had to work, and Dell has too. They've both had to work very, very hard on being better with people and better at educating. And I watched Ian improve over the years. I was sort of watched him teach a lot because he worked on it. And I think it's interesting. Whereas when Dell and I teach together, I'm the natural teacher. I'm the one who, I communicate with the students. I'm, that's it. Whereas she's the horse person. And I think it's thing, but that man-woman thing, it's really interesting. The horse industry, and I'm a bit like you. I don't want to go, oh, poor me, I'm a girl, oh, my life's so tough. But the reality of it is, I work in an industry where most of the clientele are female. Let's be honest. Most people who have horses are girls or ladies. But the thing is with that, most of the clinicians are male.
Right. Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, if you go and look up what horsemanship clinics or whatever are going around, you will find that most of the clinicians are male. And that's because, and this will sound terrible, and someone will no doubt, say I said something horrible, but most of the people in the industry, most of the women, they'd rather go to a male clinician.
Right.
And
why?
It's just strange. It's one of those anomalies of our industry but then again, it's also possibly because they're used to male clinicians as well. So don't get me wrong, I will go to a male or a female clinician, but if I'm really honest with you, I think every horseman, every clinic I've ever been to as a student, and I still go because I still want to learn, the only ones I've ever been to with women are barrel racing clinics, and that's because barrel racing is traditionally a female sport. So it's very much industry-wide thing. Yeah. If you, barrel racing is very much female dominated. Whereas, and that's the interesting thing about the industry too. You watch our Olympic disciplines, at base level, where I'm teaching and I'm working, most of the people who are involved are female, and yet you sit down and watch the Olympics. They're mostly men.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting?
So it's just one of those strange things.
There's so much there to unpack, though, isn't there? Yeah.
we need a psychologist to do that.
Well, I can tell, even though it's audio, I can actually see on the screen here. I can tell that you're kind of into what you do,
Yeah.
which I think is really, really important.
Yeah.
Not to overstate it. You sound like you jump out of bed in the morning and you rub your hands together and go, game on again. Fantastic. I'm
I
sure
hobble
I'm
out of
sure
bed this morning.
I'm sure there are moments. Why don't you tell any listeners how they might get in touch with you and maybe jump onto one of your services?
Yeah, cool. So well, obviously, a great way to get in contact with us is through the website, which is just cherrytreeequine.com.au. And yes, it does have a lot of E's in it. But we're also on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're all those things. We have an amazing YouTube channel. I was actually loading videos onto it this morning where there's 200 odd videos on there if you want to get a taste for, what it is to be a horse trainer and a clinician, and you want to see what it's all about. There's 200 odd videos on there, which are all free. And so that's a great way to see what we're up to. So, that's the thing, isn't it, these days, you have to be everywhere, and that's what we try to be. So, but always happy, you can link through on the website and talk to us. I have an amazing girl who helps me behind the scenes, and she's as passionate about, the industry as I am. And so you kind of got people there who are keen, and we're happy to help anyone, happy to talk to people, and, we don't care where they're from or whatever, or what industry they're in or what discipline they do or whether they own. I've even done mule clinics. So, I can be versatile.
You can what? Reverse what? Sorry,
well, actually, if I tell the truth, it was donkey clinic. So donkeys are not like horses. There's a difference.
I got a story about a donkey, but go on.
So I got asked to do a donkey clinic, and we can be versatile. There's nothing we can't do, really.
I'm going to do a bit of a personal share here. If anybody's listening this long, they're going to think this was worth it. So when I was a kid, we went back to Greece. So I've got Greek heritage. My parents were immigrants, and they decided that they're going to have another crack, and they went back. And so I was all of about 7 years old, and we went into the village. So I've gone from living in Melbourne, to in this tiny little Greek village, and they had the toilet downstairs, around the back, through the stable where the donkey was, because that was their car. Right? That was their transport vehicle. And then past the donkey, her name was Kotsoro, you'd go into the outhouse and do your business. So I went in trepidatiously and snuck past the donkey to get to the toilet. And then on the way back, lo and behold, the bugger had turned around and its ass was pointed, in through my escape, area. And I thought, you bastard, I'm going to get kicked here. I'm going to get so afraid. So I don't know how long I was there waiting until my parents came and found me. I had tears in my eyes. I couldn't move. Traumatized for the rest of my life. So if you want to know anything about me, that's it. And I think you can pretty well surmise everything else after that.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Michelle, absolute delight talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. Good luck with your business. It sounds like a lot of fun at the very least. And certainly, I travel up to Canberra a little bit, and if I can ever have the opportunity to drop in, I'll take it.
Do. And, let me know if you're coming up, by all means, if you're coming up, let me know. Because, I've got to go to camp. That when you're up that other week, it was just the worst week. I don't know what was going on, but I had so much on. I was like, but I've got to go to Canberra this Friday, I've got to go to the dentist, so let me know if you're up. And, but by all means, come out and have a look. You don't want to come on a day like today, but come on another day if you want. But otherwise, I'll meet you in Canberra for a coffee.
No worries. Sounds great. All right, you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. See you, mate.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Michelle O'Neill. Until next time, this is Entrepreneurship with Peter Christo.